Welcome to the Smarty Party with Super Teacher Mama Dr. Robinson. Party at my house. We're using materials that have been loaded onto the Paramount Unified School District website. And this one in particular. Make sure you have this sheet either before you start or when you finish. You're going to be doing that one independently. This is the you do, being watched and supported or alone and confidently. This lesson is going to unpack as a DII lesson, direct interactive instruction. The first part is my part. Stop, it's the red. I do. You look, listen, and learn. The yellow part is pause, go slow, get ready to go fast. We'll do this together. And then the green part, you're going to do all on your own, with maybe a little bit of supervision. Our standards and objectives for this lesson are as follows. We will use songs and chants to count aloud by tens from 1 to 100. We will also match sets of 10 objects with their corresponding decades, 0 to 100. We will then order number cards sequentially in ascending order from 0 to 100. Finally, we will fill in the missing decades when given a paper or replicating a provided example on a whiteboard, white mat, with some missing and some shown there. So I can count, this is your job, Smarties, aloud by tens to 100. Identify the decade numbers in print, order them sequentially, and write in what is missing when provided a problem depicting some shown and some not there, independently and or with a smart chart for support. I will also be able to use my 21st century skills to critically think and communicate. Smarties, I will bet when we are through, I will be able to count by tens from 0 to 100 and recognize the decade numbers. Alright, so we're going to get started with skip counting. Counting by tens is really skip counting. Let me show you what that means. If I were to take my smart chart here and I look at all of the numbers on the whole page, if you noticed, I've highlighted the decades at the end. So if I start at 0, see the lion? He's like a Lindy lion. I start at 0 and I jump over a whole decade, I'm going to land on the 10. If I jump the next decade, I'm going to land on a 20. If I jump to the next decade, I'll land on a 30. If I jump to the next decade, I'll land on a 40. If I jump to the next decade, I'll land on a 50. If I jump on the next decade, I'll land on a 60. If I jump on the next decade, I'll land on a 70. If I jump on the next decade, I'll land on an 80. If I jump on the next decade, I'll land on a 90. If I jump on the next decade, I'll land on 100. And what I did was I skipped all of these numbers here, and I only landed on the decade numbers. Doesn't mean the numbers disappeared, just means I went over them. I skipped them, so we call it skip counting. We count by ones, and we can also count by tens. So if you notice, I've taken my fingers and I've labeled them here. Now this is counting by ones, and I can use my finger to do just that. So watch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now each of my fingers represents a count of 1 and only 1. That's counting by ones. But when we skip count, we count by tens. Now there wasn't a 0 on my chart, so I added one. Let's count by tens. I'll go first and you be my echo. 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Let's try it again. 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Watch as I tuck and point and I touch and tell. This time I'm going to sing a little song. 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Let's try it again. 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Now we're going to chant it. 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Again, 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Now we can reference this chart, and we can also reference this chart. These are our SMART charts, or our reference charts. And we're going to come over here now, and just like we used our fingers to count the deck to the first decade by ones, we can use our fingers to show a count of 10 for each decade, from 0 to 100. Now if I'm showing a count of 0, how many fingers do you see? None. No fingers and no thumbs. Once I start counting, then I'm going to start using my fingers and my thumbs. So I'm going to use this chart over here. The last chart went from left to right and swept back, and then left to right and swept back, because when we read in the day and night, we always read from the left to the right. We sweep back from the left to the right, top to bottom, left to right, out of sight. So now we're going to look at the decade numbers falling down. This is called ascending order, because they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Even though it's going down, it's getting bigger by 10 as it goes down. So let's check and make sure that these numbers are all in the correct order by decade. 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. If I look at my chart here, I see that there's one little person on each thumb and finger for a count of 10 total. So every finger is holding a person. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to label this with the same number of fingers until I get to 100. So do I put any here next to 0? No, because we have to skip that, because it's an empty set, so there can't be anything in there. But it has to be a placeholder. Do you see how it's the numeral, the digit that helps us jump every decade? So it's really, really important. Can I put any here? Sure. I'm going to put 10 here and 10 here. 10 and 10 more is 20. I'm going to put 10 here, and now I have a count of 30. I'm going to put 10 more here, and now I have a count of 40. My count is getting larger by 10. I'm going to put 1 here, and now I have a count of 50. 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. I'm going to put 1 here, and now I have a count of 60. I'm going to put 1 here, and now I have a count of 70. I'm going to put 1 here, and now I have a count of 80. I'm going to put 1 here, and now I have a count of 90. I'm going to put 1 here, and now I have a count of 100 fingers all together. 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. I then can use my fingers to count by tens. So instead of having each digit on my hand count for 1, each digit on my hand is going to hold a value of 10. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Starts with 0. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So my fingers can represent a value of 1, or they can represent a value of 10. I'm going to write those digits in single numerical order and in combined double digit value. The only single digit and is going to be 0. And I'm going to put it right here off my frame. You know what this structure is called? Here's a hint. How many fingers? Here's another hint. How many boxes? It's called a 10's frame. A 10's frame. So in my 10's frame, I'm going to have it hold one number. Remember, one of them is going to be single digit, and it's not going to sit on the frame because it's a value of empty, not anything in that set. Now I'm going to go up by 1. I'm going to check over here by 110. So I'm going to go to the next decade. I put a 1 in the 10's place. I put a 0 in the 1's place. 10. Now my pattern is the 10's place is going to go up by 1, and the 1's place is going to stay the same. It's going to be 0 in every single box. So 1 goes up to a 2. I put a 2 in the 10's place. I put a 0 in the 1's place. 20. 2 goes up to a 3. 0 stays the same. I put a 3 in the 10's place. I put a 0 in the 1's place. 30. 3 goes up to a 4. 0 stays the same. I put a 4 in the 10's place. I put a 0 in the 1's place. 40. 4 goes up to a 5. 0 stays the same. I put a 5 in the 10's place. I put a 0 in the 1's place. 50. Now I'm going to sweep back. 5 goes up by 1. I put a 6 in the 10's place. I put a 0 in the 1's place. 60. 6 goes up by 1. I put a 7 in the 10's place. I put a 0 in the 1's place. 7 goes up by 1. I put an 8 in the 10's place. I put a 0 in the 1's place. 80. 8 goes up by 1. I put a 9 in the 10's place. I put a 0 in the 1's place. 90. Now we're through with single digits in the 10's place. The 9 has to go back to a 0, and then we add 1 to the next place. This digit is going to fall into the hundreds place. It also is going to go up to a 10, but really that 1 is jumping over to the hundreds place because a triple digit number has a 1's place, a 10's place, and a hundreds place. I put a 1 in the hundreds place. I put a 0 in the 10's place. I put a 0 in the 1's place. 100. 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Now we're going to play a little game. I want you to close your eyes. Close your eyes. Close them. I see you're not closing your eyes. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Stop peeking. All right, open them. Some of the numbers disappeared. Can you help me to find them? What's missing between the 10 and the 30? 10. Did you say 20? You're correct. 10, 20, 30. What's missing between the 30 and the 50? 30. Did you say 40? You're correct. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. What's next? Did you say 60? You're correct. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. What comes next before the 90? Did you say 80? You're correct. And now we've unmasked them all. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. You can make this structure and you can put these numbers in them. And then you can cut out a little circle out of paper or get something larger than your number and mask it. And that's one of the ways that you can stretch out the learning. It's called traction action, pulling the lesson even further. That's a fun game to do. Now, if the numbers are going up and down, that's a perfectly good way to count in ascending order. But does it matter if they go up and down? Actually, it doesn't. They also can go side to side. And this is the part that we're going to do together. So if you look at my chart here, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. What's missing on here is 0 because I'm not going to show a value of 0. So what I can do with this is I'm just going to put my little handy dandy post-it there as a placeholder, showing you that that's where it belongs. Can you think of something that comes in tens besides your fingers? That was obvious and easy, but is there anything else that you can think of that always comes in a set of 10? Graham crackers used to, but not anymore. Hot dogs used to, but not anymore. Here's a little hint. Bowling pins. Bowling pins come in tens. So let's count and make sure that there are 10 in my picture. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I counted the ones in the front first and then the ones in the back so I wouldn't lose place. Because when they're all scattered like this, it's really difficult to hold on to which numbers, which objects have been counted and which haven't. And sometimes we double dip, we count them twice, or we skip one and we don't count it at all. So to make sure it was accurate, I counted the front, then the back, and I came to 10. Let's check it again. Second time just to make sure we're sure for sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there are 10. I'm going to use smaller pictures because this won't fit in my pocket chart and have you be able to see anything else. So I've made smaller pictures that represent the same amount. And you know how many I have? Guess. Not 1, less than 20, more than 1, less than 15, more than 3, less than 18, more than 9, 10. Did you get it? 10. So let's show a value of each one. When I put it up, you count it for me. Ready? We're almost finished. One more. Now let's try it together. Let's do it together. 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Now, if you look underneath, I have numbers. And who messed this up? When I wasn't looking, did you do that? Did you mess up my numbers? That's so confusing. Let me count how many I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Well, that's how many I should have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. But these are mixed up. We need Fix-It Felix with his magic hammer. Fix-It Felix. Ching, I can fix it. Let's be Fix-It Felix and fix it. 0, 20, 40, 100, 50, 80, 70, 30, 60, 10, 90, Oh, these are not in the correct order. What should come after the 0? 10. Eh, 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 eh. Bing, 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 bing. You are correct. So I'm going to pick up this one and trade places. Now I want to think. In my smart brain, I know it's going to end in 100, and that's a triple digit number. So I'm going to look very closely and carefully, because the process of elimination will make it much easier if I can put into place the things that I know where they belong first. Then I only have some information I need to figure out at the end. So I'm looking for a triple digit number. No, 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 no. Yes! Bing, bing, bing. And I know 90 comes before 100, so I'm going to leave it there. Now, another trick I can do is I can look at the digit in the tens place. Because if I know how to count from 1 to 10, and I can use my handy dandy little finger chart, nothing like a smart chart to help me, and I'm going to check for the digits in the tens place. 0, 1, 4. No, I want the 2. Where's the 2? Here's the 2. 0, 1, 2. Now I need the 3. That's the 4. That's the 5. 8, 7, 3. So I'm going to put the 3 in between the 2 and the 4. And I'm going to slide this down. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I need to look for a 6. 8, 6. Now I need a 7. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 7. I'm going to do a switcheroo. Woo, woo, woo. Switcheroo. 9, 10. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And just by knowing that 0 is followed by 1, is followed by 2, is followed by 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, I can put them in numerical order, even if I didn't know the decades. And it can help me to remember. Remember, our brains are pattern seeking, and so much of math is patterns. So the more that we can see the patterns and the sooner we can see them, the more compressions will happen in our brain. It will condense down that information and make it feel easier because it's faster for us to access. 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Wow, that was pretty cool. Now here's another game that you can create at your house. You can make the decade numbers or print them out on a computer. And again, you're trying to stretch out the learning, get traction action. And turn some of them over, have them all in order first, and then put some of them over. And then in your smart brain, try and figure out what's turned face down, and then flip it over. 0, 10, 1, 2, 20. Let's see if I'm right. Drum roll, and I am correct. 20, 30, 40. What comes next? 50. I'm going to sweep back. I see 60. What comes next? 70, 80, 90, 100. What a super fun game. Now, what I want you to think about before you head to this page to do it by yourself is what the objective is on this page. They're missing some of the numbers, so you have to fill them in. So for our exit ticket, what we're going to do today is we're going to do a skip counting page to practice for that one. Anything that's here I'm going to trace, and anything I need I'm going to write. So I'm going to start by putting a 0, and then I'm going to trace over the 1 and the 0 to make a 10. Now I need a 2 and a 0 to make a 20. I need a 3 and a 0 to make a 30. I need a 4 and a 0 to make a 40. I need a 5 and a 0 to make a 50. I need a 6 and a 0 to make a 60. I need a 7 and a 0 to make a 70. I need an 8 and a 0 to make an 80. I need a 9. I don't like that 9, so I'm going to go straight down. And a 0 to make a 90. And I'm missing 100. I need a 10, a 1, a 0, and another 0 to make 100. 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So when you're working on this page, somebody can write other numbers on the back. Missing numbers. Write the decades in order, but leave some out or cover them up. And then you can try writing them, trace over them, and write them yourself. That was awesome. Thanks for sharing this with me. I look forward to more learning later. Here's some pride. Put it inside. And some love for later. Super teacher.